Hey, I'm the Reverend Russell, and I am so happy to introduce you to my new partner in crime. This is the Reverend Dr. Mark Stenberg, and we have been comrades for many,
Many
many
years,
years. Yep.
yes.
We started
Goes
at a
back a
church,
long way.
yeah,
Yeah.
together.
Mhm.
And before that, we hung out in Seattle. Remember that?
Drank a lot of coffee.
Drank a lot of coffee back when it was cool.
What were we going to call our first church? You remember?
But I think it was going to be like the Edge, possibly. This was the '90s. Maybe it was grunge related.
It was going to be like a talk show
Yeah,
setup.
it was.
Right?
We were very inspired by the witty and edgy antics of one Conan O'Brien, who was great.
Yeah.
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 It was going to be good. The whole show was going to be a talk show, wasn't it? The church.
I think so.
Yeah.
The Fringe.
The Fringe.
I think it was The Fringe.
Oh my God, it's worth the edge. That is actually really true. We were going to start. Oh, the Fringe, and yeah, there were going to be references to flannel. It was. Man.
Yeah.
Well, we've come a long way, but not that far.
No.
No. Mark Stenberg, this is normally where you might see, if I'm not flailing here by myself, you'll see Tony Jones, but
We got rid of him.
yeah, he's moved on to greener pastures. That doesn't mean he's dead. Mark Stenberg here is the new senior contributing editor of The Hardest Question, and he's going to seniorly contribute like mad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we used to kind of play The Hardest Question at Keys Cafe on Monday at our
Yeah.
staff meetings. And we actually got hit by a car together.
We did. We got hit by a car together coming back from. Yeah, we'd get together every Monday and we'd read the text and we'd say, we kind of find the hardest question in the text and mull that over. And we were so taken by the text that we were walking home from the restaurant and a car took an illegal left turn and hit us both,
Both of us.
at the same time.
And we both jumped in the air and
did.
rolled on the ground
Yeah.
like on TV.
It was. It was like
really pretty amazing.
we were badass exegetes. Really. Yeah, that's better
Yeah.
than the Fringe any day. We didn't even have a TV show. All right,
All
but
right.
this week we're going to get right to the hardest question. Now we are looking at the Transfiguration of our Lord, and that's Luke 9:28, and of course we're in year C. So the Transfiguration.
Yeah, I think Debbie Blue, our colleague, my old colleague, your current colleague, probably said it, had the best line
Yeah, I think so too.
ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
glory doesn't shine.
It bleeds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. You should read, if you don't have her book, it's in her book, Sensual Orthodoxy, that
Mhm.
sermon. Very good.
Mhm.
But so what do we do? Yeah, I know you've preached a really great sermon on this text before. I feel like I
You
have
have too.
I feel like I have, so you come around to this and like, what do you do again? Because, some texts you come around to every 3 years, you basically come around to the Transfiguration every year.
Yeah, you're dealing with this glory, and you kind of do this inversion of glory, right?
Right, yeah.
Glory isn't what we think of. It's the way of the cross.
Right, it's the whole
Yeah.
coming down from the mountain
Right.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
So what do you do with this when you preach? I mean, because there's a lot of, you have Moses and Elijah there. You have the law and the prophets. And does God call Jesus up the mountain so he can make his face shiny, and then have Moses and Elijah stamp their seal of approval on
Well, it
this
does seem,
Messiah?
if you went kind of in a dark direction, this does seem like a legitimation attempt.
Like, why does that seem dark?
Because what if they just made up the whole Jesus story and they put Moses and Elijah because they represent the law and the prophets, and they're trying to bolster this claim of this Jesus character.
Right.
Yeah.
That is pretty dark.
Yeah.
But, you can kind of just get that sense if somebody were doing that. There's a lot of different points in the Gospels where you can say they kind of like,
Yeah.
right.
Let's bring in. Yeah.
Yeah, let's echo these types and let's, make these references. But also, you can read it as a way of connecting it to a salvation history that goes back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What if the law and the prophets were all about what will culminate in the death and the resurrection?
And so you think the
Jesus.
thing that's important here is to get at that thing Debbie was getting at, that glory doesn't shine, it bleeds, and it's not this, he's transfigured not to be elevated, but to come back down and to suffer and die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what is the hardest question here for you? Are there any things that trip you up in this text? Make you like pause and go, what?
There's lots of little hard questions.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, the little hard questions. We call them harditos. Well, I like. There's just. I wonder. I can't. When I read this, I want to know like what what do they want? What does Jesus want his disciples, Peter, James, John? What does he want their reaction to be? Because they go up there and it's just like he's talking to Moses and Elijah, right? And the text describes that the disciples are kind of sleepy. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're off in the corner. It's like, look, at mommy and daddy are talking over here, and we're gonna leave soon, and they're just waiting over there because they're sleepy. And then the text says, as they were leaving, Peter says, "Hey, should we make some booths for you guys here and like worship you here or whatever?" And so it was kind of like on their way down the hill, and then he's like, "No, tell no one." And he's got to bring in God the Father to really like, you know, listen to him. He's my son.
Right.
So I want to know what is he? Is it so? It raises this greater question: like, is the Messiah and this messianic event? Is it necessary that we even acknowledge it? Like, can it right? Can that just happen? And we don't even necessarily need to see it, right? This happens, the resurrection, this salvific event happens, whether we notice it or not. It's not really that important that we do. Oh, that went from hard to big.
Yeah, it happens whether or not
Right.
we acknowledge it.
Exactly.
It's going on.
We don't
Yeah.
need to worship at it or make a little booth, or we
Yeah.
don't need to put our stamp on it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I do acknowledge that this happened.
Yeah. There's a little bit of shame going on too with the falling asleep, almost falling asleep part.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are some hard questions there and some interesting things to think about. Let us know how you are going to preach on this text. So until next time.